by 5.
Drei Gläser.
Two. One.
That's no moon.
What's up, everybody? We are live. It is episode 32 of the Hardcore Casual Podcast. He is Jay of F1 Podcast fame. I am Mason of Radio Infamy, and we are the conversation on the seaworthy vessel behind you. So, what's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. It's good to be back again. Obviously, it's been quite a week since the last week, but we're looking forward to kind of getting back in the swing of things and hopefully bringing some entertaining stories and just bits of information to you. So, we got a lot of stuff going on, some fun stuff, like we said earlier. As you can see in the title, we've got some Assassin's Creed stuff coming up, some Borderlands 4 stuff coming up, a few other things. We got some games that deserve some sequels that never got them. And, we got a lot to talk about. So, anyways, I just want to check in with you, Jay. How's things going? How are you feeling so far this evening?
Well, I mean, I had kind of a crazy, stressful day, and I'm sure a lot of people out there have. And but yeah, also enjoying it. The week we've getting back to normal this week, and we had a great game release this past week, which was phenomenal. Actually, for me, had a couple, and I'll bring up one of mine tonight as well. But looking forward to the show tonight, man. Absolutely.
Me as well. And before we jump into our first story, I'm just going to say that I have a fly. A fly has gotten into the office here. So if you see me making sudden movements, chances are I'm not having a stroke. It's likely the fly. I can't say it's impossible, though. Obviously, the chances are never zero. Never zero.
Right.
But the likely scenario is I'm just trying to get that fly. So anyway, I guess we should start with what has to be the biggest story so far in game. And it's like several big stories. There you go. You changed your background for it. It's essentially several big stories. It's essentially 3 big stories. So we have Borderlands 4 released, and we're going to talk about our impressions of it and what we think so far. Then we've also got a lot of chaos surrounding Borderlands 4. And then we also have Randall Pitchford.
Wow,
so,
that's separate from the chaos category.
Well, unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately,
wow.
it is wide enough to have its own segment. So I wanted to start off with our own experiences. Obviously, it released last week. We've been playing it since was it Friday that it released? And
yeah, something like that.
We've put in quite a few hours together on our own, playing around. So I want to preface this and say that we are aware of issues that some are having. We will talk about those later. However, as far as our own impressions, we can only talk about what we have experienced. So keep in mind what we're talking about here. This is just based off of our own experiences, our own impressions. Other people have had different experiences, different issues, things like that. But for us, we've been playing on PlayStation 5, and I have been enjoying the game. How about yourself, Jay?
So I'm playing on PlayStation 5 because my son and I game share. And from an economic standpoint, it made more sense to get. I would have rather got the PC version. Although hindsight's 2020, I'm sort of glad I didn't get it so far, even though there's just no other way. I've got a rig that would run it fine. But I'm still glad I got it on PlayStation simply because A, it's what I'm used to with all the other Borderlands. And B, it's been nice to play it with my kiddo when he's over and get to enjoy it with him and with you guys. I actually didn't get to do much Borderlands with you, Mason, we had kind of lost touch there for a while, and prior to Borderlands 4 is what I'm saying.
I was also an Xbox main for a long time.
Back before things like crossplay and
Yeah, yeah.
cross-platform were a thing. So I played Borderlands 1 with you probably remember Jesse and Coy. I played with them. And then we had another buddy of ours that would join us. And then Borderlands 2 was basically my kids and Captain Redbeard. Borderlands 3, I played for a while and then realized that it sucked and stopped playing it totally. And then we got this one. As far as characters go, I've always been the soldier. Roland, Axton, Zane. Started this one with what's his name? Rafa. Realized we had more than one Rafa in the thing, so I kind of switched to Harlow, which I thought I was going to hate. Turns out I don't hate her. I secretly call her Macy Gray because she's got this crazy like Macy Gray hair. And I'm really enjoying the mechanics that she has because it is very, very different than what I'm used to. And also, and this might be a hot take, I don't like Rafa's skill that much. Of course, I only got levels 1 through 11 of that skill, or maybe I picked the wrong tree and didn't really enjoy it. My son is running a dual blades build with Rafa, which looks phenomenal, although I never liked dual blades build. But anyway, that's so far I'm loving it, man.
Same. And yeah, right now the only skill that I've had is the cannons. I've used Rafa's cannons. That's the only one that I've invested into or tried. So that's my only experience. The other one I want to try the sidearm. That looks pretty cool in the dual blades. It all looks good, but as far as everything else though, I'm loving it. So that's why I want to say again, I understand everybody's going to have their own experiences. I am loving it. It is what I had hoped it would be. It really feels, as far as tone, much like Borderlands 1 and 2. It still has that humor, and it's not overdone. There's actually so far there was like one mission that we had Claptrap, and then he's just vanished into the wind for a while. So I'm sure he'll pop up again. But yeah, like
I can only handle him in small doses, dude.
Exactly. Well, there's even a slider. If you go to the settings, there's a Claptrap slider that you can turn down from 0 to 100 on how much Claptrap you want. But I'm loving it. The humor is on point. You know, it's not too much. It's one thing that cracked me up, made me laugh out loud. I think my favorite thing that I have seen so far, I was playing with a buddy of mine, Dean Whiskey, on there, and you know, we were going into this little fortress, and there was one guy, and he was off in the distance, and he didn't see us yet. And Dean lined him up and took a shot. I wasn't set or anything ready. He was still way out there, but Dean took a shot, and it hit this guy. And from way out there, you could hear him go, "Oh, real mature, asshole." And then proceeded to fire back. I don't know why, it just made me laugh so hard to have that, like, "Oh, real mature." Oh,
that's great.
So yeah, the humor's on point. I am loving it. There's been a couple of issues here and there that we've ran into. I know that there have been a couple of times where we've had to like exit the game and hop back in. There was one time where there was a particular point of a mission. There was a particular point in a mission where, not to spoil anything, so there was a gate, essentially, like Jay was saying, that we had to go through, and it just wasn't triggering. Like we were on the spot, we were where we were supposed to be, we had done all the things that we were supposed to do, but it just didn't trigger. So we had to quit the game, come back in, and then it worked. And
I've had some. I was going to say I've had some visual issues, like in my menus, where there was no picture for whatever piece of gear it was.
I have seen a lot of that happening as well. Where I'll have, you know, you have like the 4-quadrant thing for your guns, and you can bring that menu up, and it'll be a thing where sometimes they're all blank. Like you can see that there's something there. It's colored the same, you know, the same color as its rarity, but there's no image to let you know, oh, hey, it's a sniper rifle. It's this, but obviously, you know, but yeah, I've had that. I've also had a lot of things where like, which was an issue that we would have in older Borderlands games, even though this one's Unreal Engine, but that's where like a draw distance or something where everything's muddy. Everything's muddy, and it takes a while to like actually like load in once you get close to it. Like, you get close to it, and it still takes a while to load in and get the hot, like the more highly detailed textures. So I've certainly had that. And there's some other weird things that aren't glitches. At least I don't think they're glitches that I find really frustrating. One of them is before I get to the real big one that drives me crazy, I'll say one of the smaller ones that's still been frustrating is like whenever you sort of do a ping to have it show you the trail, the direction you need to go for your next objective or whatever tracked mission you've got going, it'll have a line. It can be gold. It can be a gold line or a blue line, depending on how you're tracking it. But it will send you in that direction and you will go that direction. But if you pass by a checkpoint, the line will disappear. That has happened so many times where if you pass by a checkpoint, the line will immediately disappear. And
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. That one's driven me crazy. And the biggest one that is a constant frustration is if you go to your inventory, whether you want to just look at your backpack or you want to change your weapon. So you go on there, you want to change, like, okay, I picked up some better weapons in the last mission. Let me go and change out my gear or whatever. You go to your weapons to change them. And I've never seen it do this before. The default sorting method is by manufacturer. And you cannot change the default. You select it, you go away to a different menu screen, you come back, the sorting is once again sorted by manufacturer. That you can't change the default so that it's sorted by damage or sorted by rarity or sorted by level. It sorts it by manufacturer. And every time you back out of it or come back, it stays that way. And that drives me insane. I hate
that. Somebody on the dev team, whoever came up with the brands, they're freaking dying on that hill. You will focus on your brands. And it's funny, even for the people that don't, subconsciously they do. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't need to see Jacobs to know that that's a Jacob. Okay, that's a Jacobs weapon.
Yeah.
And there's brands I do not like. I mean, just not like. I'm not a big Tedior guy, if that's how you say it, or Tedior or whatever. The one where you throw it at the end, and I'm like, this is stupid. But I love Mala 1, and I like the artistic style of Jacobs weapons, but I don't really not a big Jacobs nut either.
I'm always a fan of gunslinger characters, So I love the Jacobs. They're always the Old West kind of inspired stuff and the filigree on them. Yeah. But the one that's been driving me crazy whenever I pick it up, and I'm not paying attention to the manufacturer whenever it pops up because I'm in the heat of the battle, so I need to picture. But it's the one where you charge it. So where they have the weapon.
Is that the order?
I don't know, but the one where it's you can pull the trigger and then there will be a delay, or you hold that trigger and it'll charge to 3 or 4 ticks or whatever, and then you let it go and it fires, multiple rounds at once. Now, granted, they can be very powerful. It just doesn't. That's just not the way I want to play. I don't like those. I've always hated charging weapons. So,
that's what sucks for me right now is playing Harlow, because her character arc is that she worked for Mala 1 and specifically designed a lot of the tech that Mala 1 uses. So I feel like I'm kind of pigeonholed into because she gets bonuses for using that brand's weapons. So it kind of sucks because there's a lot of Jacob stuff I like. But anyway.
Yeah, Jacobs, that's the one that I always try to go for is Jacob's stuff, just because
I feel like Jacobs is the Winchester of Borderlands, right? I mean, it's the
workhorse, it's the old reliable, not necessarily anything fancy about it, but it gets the job done,
You could walk around Walmart or anywhere in town and walk up to somebody that doesn't know weapons for nothing and go, name one gun brand. They're going to say Winchester.
Or Glock.
Or Remington. Or Glock. Yeah, well, if they're all GTA'd out, shooting sideways, it's going to be Glock. But yeah.
So anyways, I've been loving Borderlands. Also, a lot of the improvements have been noted. They are felt. The fact that you now have the bike that you can summon at any time. There's no longer catch a ride. You don't have to worry about
catch a ride though.
I miss I miss the guy who's now dead, unfortunately.
Catch a ride. What?
He died. They killed him off. The Telltale game.
I thought you meant the voice actor died.
No,
in real life.
The character.
What? Okay.
No, in the Borderlands Telltale game. I mean, spoilers, but yeah, that character dies. That's
I
why
didn't play the Telltale's game.
that's why his sister is doing it in Borderlands 3. But yeah, so I kind of miss that interaction, and I miss having the characters there. But what would always be frustrating would be in a situation where there wouldn't it's not like those like portals or whatever were everywhere. I mean,
Right.
sometimes you'd have to walk for a ways to get to them. So if you went out somewhere, you got into a shootout with some enemies and you like blew up your ride, and then you'd have to walk around, find it again, to summon it. So now you can just summon your vehicle, and it's got customization options. Not a whole ton of them, and as I don't know if maybe once you have more options for the vehicle itself, which I finally unlocked a new one, I don't know if maybe the weapons kind of change along with it. But in past games, when you did the catch a ride, you could sort of adjust the different weapons that came along with it and tweak these different things. So right now it's not quite that detailed, but it's just nice to have it where you can summon it at any time. That's great. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I want to call it now and be on the record that either with a DLC in Borderlands 4 or with Borderlands 5, we're gonna get jetpacks.
I would be down for that.
Timestamp it. We need jetpacks.
Well, the grappling hook is a very nice welcome addition.
Except it's also shitty because I thought we were going to be able to grapple anywhere. Oh, and now we can only grapple and designate. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off either.
No, you're good.
I'm so beyond. I was miffed that you have to find a grapple point. I'm like, dude, seriously, it's 2025.
But what
Just
game?
Let me grapple.
What game will let you grapple up from anywhere?
Just Cause 4, Tenshu. I mean, Tenshu goes back to the late 90s, and it let you grapple. But Just Cause, all the Just Causes let you grapple from anywhere.
Yeah, I had no expectation of that. I figured it would be the designated points. And then we also have the gliding, which is nice. I mean,
awesome.
It's not particularly like game changing, but it does help a lot with traversal. Whenever there's like big gaps to close or something like that, where you don't necessarily have to jump it with a vehicle or anything like that. You can just jump and glide and go over. So anyway, I'm enjoying it. I'm a big fan of it. I like what I'm playing. Do you have anything you want to add before we get to the people that are not enjoying it?
Yeah, vehicle weapons need to be buffed.
For sure. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so first off, the default is the machine gun.
Yes.
And then it's terrible. And then you switch to the, wait for it, rockets, and they're actually less damage than the machine gun. They're terrible. Really cool effect on both of them. I love the way they sound. I love the way they are. But my God, dude, they do nothing. And it's almost like you could tell whoever designed the vehicles, somebody else said, yeah, but they need to be shitty. So we don't want people just living on their bike, which I would if the weapon worked right.
I mean, I can understand making them a little less powerful than your guns, but they're way less powerful than any of your weapons. I mean, and it doesn't level up, or at least not that we've seen. Like there's no leveling of your weapon systems. You can level the engine to get like different speed and acceleration and stuff like that. I've seen the ability to like level up or rank up your engine and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as weapons, so far I see no way to actually level up the weapons. And yeah, like you said, they are weak on those vehicles. Super weak. And
even on Star Wars Genesis 8.4, you can level up your speeder.
Mark the Genesis counter.
Yeah, you can level up your speeder. So, come on, Randy.
Okay, so that is our experience. We love it. It's been fun. Obviously, we've not beaten the game. We didn't get early copies or anything like that. We're not trying to rush to review. We're just enjoying it. And so far, yeah, there's story there, which is more than the third one had. The gunplay is great. The humor is balanced. It's looking great. There's certainly, like we just mentioned, there's things that bother us and hope they can get corrected and tweaked. But overall, super enjoying the game. That said, not everyone is enjoying the game. And before we talk about that, I do just want to say, like, hey, guys, it would really give us a hand if you would give us a like. We're kind of in YouTube jail right now, and apparently a lot of creators are, where they're just not getting pushed like they used to. Apparently in mid-August, which is what happened to us, we got really kind of throttled, and likes would really help out with that. So please feel free to give us a like. It's free. We appreciate it. It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
But Moving on. So yeah, the people that are not having such a great time seems to be primarily PC.
Boo.
And as you had alluded to before, PC is apparently not a great time now. Now, Randy, before we get into his stuff, we'll get into all his stuff in a bit. But he has said that essentially it comes down to about 1% of those that have bought the game are filing complaints or opening tickets or whatever. So it's still not a ton, but it is certainly a very loud group of people, and they are very upset. So I know that there's stuff where the big thing is frame drops, low frame rates, not being able to balance resolution versus frame rates. And like you had mentioned last week, where they had basically said, hey, these minimum requirements are the literal minimum requirements. Like if you do not meet these minimum requirements, the game will not run. And go ahead.
The number of PC gamers is starting to escalate quickly. The problem with that is a lot of people buy these PCs and they don't take the time to learn what their PC can and cannot do. And it's like I told a friend of mine at work, I'm like, when you go to buy a game, you're not just going to buy the game anymore. You've got to look, and don't look at the minimum system requirement. Always look at the recommended, and then make sure you're over the recommended, because those are just settings to get it to run, not to make it look good or play well. So then you've got a lot of kids whose parents bought them a PC for Christmas, and they're like, why isn't this shit working? I play Call of Duty Warzone, it's working. Then you've got to deal with software developers that don't design a game that's optimized for a PC, which I think we're kind of, this is probably a 50-50 thing, where the optimization team didn't do a really good job at Gearbox. And then also people, because I've been reading the comments, and I can just tell by reading the comments, I'm like, okay, you're probably on an RTX 1080 from 5 years ago trying to run this game. Stupid. Dumb.
Well, and when it comes to optimization, and that's one of the things where it's a reason that I really enjoy playing on console, especially is because whenever games develop for consoles, the developers know what they're dealing with. They know what your system is, they know the components, and they know the limits that they're working within. Whereas whenever you go to a PC release, the variance is infinite. You know, the number of possibilities where it's like, you know, could have, you know, oh, this graphics card and this, like all these different things and combination of things, and you have to try to account for that. But also, as far as optimization goes, got to keep in mind that several months ago, Borderlands got moved forward. They changed the release date. They released it early. They moved it ahead 2 weeks. And it seems like maybe that 2 weeks could have been used for better optimization. And even like on PlayStation 5, like I said, we've ran into issues, but nothing crazy, nothing, you know, more insane than a typical multiplayer, large, like AAA multiplayer game where a lot of people are going to be on the servers. But there have been some issues, and I had seen a story where it said that the PlayStation 5 Pro, which is what I play on, had the worst version of the game, where there was issues with like essentially like a memory leak. So maybe that's why I'm getting some of the issues that I do get. It says like basically quitting the game, restarting it will fix that, and hopefully they can patch that out. Although I do love memory leak as a term, because it always sounds something super sci-fi and like a Johnny Mnemonic kind of scenario where we have a memory leak.
Great movie, dude. What a great movie.
But so yeah, PC gaming is not going well. Some people are having no issues. A lot of the people that you see on like content creators that are giving their reviews, they're playing on PCs and they're not having issues. Obviously, they have Haas PCs. You know, they've got PCs that are tricked out, but that's not the case for everybody. And a lot of people are having these performance issues, like I said, frame rates, low resolution, all sorts of stuff. And I think that these issues would not be nearly as newsworthy or as big of a deal if it weren't for the third part of sorry, fly. If it weren't for the third part,
Mr. Miyagi, you are not.
I am not. But yeah, I don't think that it would be nearly as big of a deal if it wasn't for Randy Pitchford.
Well, you ain't lying. He just
Because
cannot. He's got to button it up, dude. I mean, he's.
So I don't know how many videos we've now done with where we talked about Randy and him being on Twitter and just begging him
And
to please put
it's
his phone
sad
down.
because I mean I love the guy and I love where his head's at, and he's a gamer's gamer, but he just his where he can physically exist in the cosmos and where his brain wants to be are two different places. Man, I mean it's I don't want to call it loss of reality because that implies crazy, and yeah, you got to be a little eccentric to run a game company, I'm sure. But man, come on, dude.
Well, and this is the
Offering
thing.
to help people one-on-one or saying you've already helped people one-on-one.
And granted, he has done a lot, but then there'll be times where he goes back and forth, and then he's recommended. I wanted to pull up some tweets, but like Jay and I talked about before we actually went live, there's just too many. There's too many to pull and show. The dude is crashing out. And I want to say, like, obviously, I want to throw out the criticism that Randy, please put your phone down. This is not helpful. This is hurting your game. Like I said, if there were just performance issues and tickets were opened and people that's their job at Gearbox were reaching back out, fulfilling those tickets, getting back to those people who are making complaints, maybe it would hit the news, whatever. But you being obviously the biggest mouthpiece for Gearbox, you are the face of Gearbox, and you are having these very animated, heated conversations on a very public forum. It's not helping. And I want to say, because again, while we do criticize Randy, I do love Randy, and I just want to say, like, I get it, man. I get it. You are obviously very passionate. And after what happened in Borderlands 3, this was kind of a chance to reclaim what they had created, to sort of get back to basics and make something that everybody said that they wanted. And they did it. And he was very happy that they did it. And I understand that. You were passionate about the game. You made something you loved. You did the thing that everybody asked for, and you were expecting the praise. And then you have these people. And like you said yourself, the number of people that are complaining from versus the number of people that bought it, even on just PC, was less than 1%. It is a minority of people. It is a minority issue. Most people are playing it, enjoying it, maybe a little hiccup here and there, and it's not a big deal. And I understand, as somebody that creates content on obviously a much smaller scale than Randy or Gearbox, but you put something out there and you put your heart and your soul in it, and then somebody comes and they have something negative to say about it, or they don't get what you were trying to do, or whatever, and it sucks. It can hurt, and you want to, or if they're not getting it, you want to let them, you want to make sure they understand, because you want everybody to feel that same passion that you do. It's not going to happen, man. You're not going to make everybody happy. So just stop trying, because the more you try to make everybody happy, the worse it's getting all over, even to the point that he's now picked a fight with Notch. The guy that made Minecraft has now entered the chat. Yeah, and he and Notch are having it out on Twitter. So
what about?
Gosh, okay. Well, one moment.
And I'm sorry. I know Minecraft is universally loved by a lot of people, but you don't get to bring your 16-bit game to the home plate and fight with a Randy Pitchford. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion, but
so here's the thing. It was so simple. So this is the one. So Randy on the 14th posted a tweet, one of obviously countless. And this one was, every PC gamer must accept the reality of the relationship between their hardware and what software they are running. Okay, I missed a word. Every PC gamer must accept the reality of the relationship between their hardware and what the software they are running is doing. That was the tweet that he had put out there. During one of his, fair enough. Now, granted, it was mid crash out, so probably wasn't well received in the midst of everything. That was Randy's tweet. Notch had a simple reply. And Notch said, "Be a man, dude." That was the tweet. Now, granted, Randy was.
What did he mean?
He's just saying, just like quit, just stop. I'm sure that was it. He was kind of just like we were also wanting him to put the phone down, but his way of saying put the phone down was be a man, dude. Randy, again, being mid crash out, did not take
Be a
kindly
man
to this.
So
he then responded by tweaking some of the wording of his previous tweet that got Notch's attention. And he said, "Every man must accept the reality of the relationship between their gender and what the software they are running is doing. Masculinity is a shader option. Try turning it off if you'd like to tune your performance."
Oh my God.
So
in 2025, he's bringing gender into the picture in 2025 on the internet.
So anyway, and then it goes on. It goes on from there. It's a dumpster fire. Randy, I actually tried to reach out on Twitter to like get a sit down with him since you're not answering my emails. But we're not verified on Twitter because that costs money now. And you can only email him or DM him if you're verified. So I wanted to DM him and be like, "Hey man, come on, we can talk. Like, this isn't gonna. We're not journalists. We're just fans of gaming. We like you. Let's just have a discourse. You can kind of air out some of the things. We'll, whatever. We just have a conversation." But couldn't get there. Anyway, that's where we are with Randy. Is so the three parts of Borderlands 4 here and our coverage on it. Part 1, we have played it. While there are frustrations with it, with some of the choices and some of the things like the weapon sorting and stuff like that, it's great. We love it. We enjoy it. We've had a great time with it. There are certainly a couple of hiccups, but we love what we've seen so far. Part 2 is, yes, other people are having some issues, particularly on PC. They're more pronounced. It is a minority of people, but that sort of those issues have been amplified by the megaphone that is Randy Pitchford. So there's where we are. If you were on the fence about Borderlands 4, if you were waiting to find out if it was what we wanted it to be before making a purchase, I can say that if you liked Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, you will like Borderlands 4. It has that same vibe, and the changes that they've made are noted, they're appreciable, and they are effective, and it's great. So it's a great evolution of the Borderlands 1 and 2 formula, and a far and away superior to Borderlands 3, but it is certainly more stable and more of a surefire proposition if you get it on a console. So that is Borderlands 4 in a nutshell. Do you have anything about Borderlands 4 before we move on?
I do not. I was a little upset. Like, I ended up getting a really good deal and got the.
I think your microphone got moved away a bit.
The super. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. The Super Earth Ultimate Edition, whatever that was actually called, and a little upset with what came with it. I realized most of the stuff that comes with it is coming down the road at a later date. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. And this is a childish nitpick, and I'm just going to say it that front so that when I do say it, people aren't like, "Dude, come on." I feel like the grind for colorways for your Vault Hunter style and for your vehicle and for other things, I feel like it's a little slow.
Oh, that is one thing. I can't believe I didn't mention this. Now that you mentioned that, the last thing I do want to say regarding that is, speaking of changes, we're far more fragile than in previous Borderlands, for sure. Yeah, your character goes down way easier than in previous Borderlands. Enemies are a bit more bullet spongy, and you are far more fragile. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. So man, you will have a lot more second wind opportunities.
I actually like that about it, even though it's frustrating sometimes, obviously. But I do wish like some of the progression stuff unlocked a little faster.
Yes, for sure. Feel that.
So anyway,
Okay, so on to the second big piece of news that we have, and this is something that we've been excited for here for a long time, and that is the remake of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. What's crazy about the Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake is we know more about the Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake than we know, which has not been acknowledged, uttered, nothing. Like Ubisoft has never actually acknowledged this game publicly yet, and we know more about this game than we know about the Knights of the Old Republic remake, which has been announced for years now.
Yeah.
But there was
Holy
a
crap.
huge leak that just came out for Black Flag. It's from a French-based outlet that I will not even attempt to pronounce. But we had a few things that came out from these leaks regarding Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And I think that we might have a bit of a hot take compared to a lot of people based off of what I've been reading.
Yeah.
But so number one, the first big thing that was brought out in this leak is that they are removing all modern day content. All the Abstergo content in the game is being excised. It's removed. Yes, exactly. And I read that and I was like, good. Good.
Yeah.
Apparently, this is not the same reaction that a lot of people are having. There are apparently
So a lot of people, be a man.
yeah. Well, and we're actually going to get to that here in a moment as well.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. So yeah, I was excited to hear that. This is something that we have talked about many times on the show, and those parts of the games suck, and they've sucked for a long time.
Yes, man.
They've gotten worse over time. They've gotten
You're
worse.
always barefoot. You're in your pajamas. You have no weapons. It's just not fun.
No, and like there are ways to make it interesting. I still cannot believe this is the thing that we've talked about so many times where it could be awesome. So the whole thing, right? I mean, it's called Assassin's Creed. The whole thing is that there is this order of assassins that has existed for generations. And the Abstergo, they're using this whole DNA thing. I'm not going to go get into it, but that's how we're looking into the past. But they're doing it by people that are still carrying on this legacy of these assassins. The Assassin's Creed still lives on. Then why are we not assassins in the modern day? Like, if it's still a thing, why don't we have any modern day assassin missions? Like,
why not? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
Go for it. Go for it.
No, this is my thing, and I know as soon as I say this, you're gonna be like, hell yeah, but or maybe you'll say something similar. But imagine, if you will, you're in the golden age of piracy, and you're in 1715 to 725, and you're doing your thing. And then you pop out of the Animus and you're in a black leather 3/4 trench with a hood, and you got your blades, and they're probably a little bit modernized, and you got maybe a couple of pistols. And then you have missions in that world too. And
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Like a darkened London with a slight rain.
Streets of New York.
Because of somebody you met in the golden age of piracies, later down the line, relative lives in London, and now your objective is to take that joker out. You'd create a game where people would debate whether they wanted to stay in the Animus or get out of it, which would be awesome.
Yeah, that's what we have proposed on the show before. The multiple timelines could be really fun if you could be an assassin in both timelines. That would be awesome.
Right.
Like it would be, and the fact that we are so far into the Assassin's Creed franchise and that has not happened a single time is crazy to me. The fact that we have not had this once, not even once, and Black Flag had one of the worst of all of them whenever it came to the Abstergo section, where it was a first person's perspective and you were walking around a corporate office, turning on computers, like going over to this person's cubicle. It was the dumbest shit
in the cube. Yes.
Like, it was so stupid. So yeah, the fact, and whenever I played Black Flag the first time, I just did like whatever. Just like let me run through just let me get through this so I can get back to being a pirate.
Let's put it this way. I think every Assassin's Creed that I've ever finished, I bet I had 138 unread emails on my computer inside the Animus because I didn't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, remove the Abstergo and all the modern day stuff out of it. Great, because that sucked anyway. So yeah, you know what? Put it back in whenever it's good. I'm fine with that. Don't care. So I was actually happy that they are reportedly removing that. Couldn't be happier. And again, this is the thing where when Black Flag released, we've mentioned it many times, and they released that questionnaire, and they're like, hey, would you guys play a pirate game if it was disconnected from the Assassin's Creed universe? And we're like, yes, absolutely we would. And then they took that feedback and made Skull and Bones, where they're like, oh, they said they liked the boats, and it's like, no, we wanted exactly what you gave us. Just take this out. And that's what we're getting now in the remake, apparently, is just taking that part out.
Felt like
so that part I was excited about. Yeah. Well, so
Skull and Boned.
I guess we'll go ahead and get into this aspect of it right off the bat to get it out of the way. So Skull and Bones was made by Ubisoft Singapore. It was a division of Ubisoft that was created exclusively for that purpose, and they also did a lot of help with water physics and things like that. They were an assistant kind of a studio to different games, and a lot of it was water physics that they did for various games after Black Flag. And then they made Skull and Bones. And I am disappointed to report that the Black Flag remake is being handled by the Ubisoft Singapore studio. So not exactly a history of, winners there. So we'll see how that goes.
You guys have a good night. It's been great to be here. I'm gonna checking out now.
Well,
so
and then
here's the thing. First off, Singapore's a great country, and I have no doubt that Singapore dev team knows what they're doing. I think the biggest problem, if you watch, there's a literal documentary you can watch on YouTube for Skull and Bones. That upper leadership team was fired and replaced like 3 or 4 separate times during the development of that game. So I kind of feel sorry for that low end, like baseline developer and animator and, mechanics person. I don't know where you were going with your thought. I probably stole it, but I'm sorry. But if they just, for the first time in their human effing lives, just do what we want them to do. I know that sounds selfish and entitled even, but you asked us first what we wanted, and you did not deliver, you completely bent us over without petroleum jelly. And so now you need to listen, and you have to, because if you don't, you will lose the last shred of credibility you even have as a development team. And I'm not picking on Ubisoft as a whole, because anybody that knows me knows I'm a complete Ubisoft slut. I play so many different, and I love Assassin's Creed, and I wanted to love Skull and Bones. I played the shit out of the demo, and the only thing that pissed me off about the demo really was that we had to use Asian style pirate ships, which isn't a problem because they're from Asia. It's a problem because I don't like that style of ship. I wanted a brig, and I didn't get a brig, but that's on me.
Speaking of styles, this is one of the things where I'm sure a lot of people will be excited to hear this, and this is one of the things that I was actually very bummed to hear. So after reading this report, while I am happy that the Abstergo content is being removed, the modern day aspect, I am less excited for this game after reading about these leaks, because some of the things that I truly loved are going to be gone. So the fighting style, the combat system, is going to be the modern combat system. They are doing away, they're not bringing back the old combat system that was around for Black Flag, where you had the parries and the counters that were really elaborate and they looked great and they made you feel like a superhero. It was essentially like Batman Arkham with swords. And
so which one are we getting?
same one that they have now that was introduced in Origins, where it's more of a hitbox related thing where you swing, it can be blocked and it can be deflected. You can unlock a parry, which is just like a deflect, and a counter, which is just like another swing. But gone are the days of like being able to like, oh, I take my sword and move yours to the side, and then I'm flipping around at these really elaborately choreographed move sets and stuff that I loved, and it made me feel like a superhero.
I loved him too, and as much as I love Origins, that was one of its weakest points, was the controls for combat. But then Odyssey fixed it and had this really nice block, which I love the Odyssey one. And then we get Valhalla, which broke it again. And then I don't know about after Valhalla, I was
Shadows is the I haven't played Shadows.
Mirage and Shadows, and I didn't play either one of those two.
Yeah, so I'm very disappointed to hear that the combat system is going to be the modern one, and that we don't get the old one back. Because like I said, I used to love getting surrounded, by enemies. I would go out of my way to get as many enemies as possible, so that you could have this amazing like fight scene. Yeah, and it felt amazing
very Zorro-esque.
Yeah, it was super cinematic.
Yeah.
But then this new combat system, it's just not cinematic. It works as a gameplay mechanic, but it doesn't have the visual flair that the original combat system had. And you just kind of lose that sense of wonder. So we're getting that. And another thing that I'm a bit concerned about is they're going to...
You're killing me, bro. I'm still buying this game.
I'll still play it too.
You're killing me.
But there are some red flags that went up, and other things that they're going to be adding in these RPG elements that have been a much bigger thing in Assassin's Creed games since Origins and Odyssey and all of that, where you have like the level system where different enemies have different levels and you have different levels, and then so your equipment and your weapons, all of that is leveled. And
but they made the materials so hard to find.
Well,
to where you can build enough.
You can build what?
It was hard. Like Odyssey, one of the things I hate about Odyssey is you'd be this level 40 guy with level 32 gear because you need 479 pieces of leather, and you end up going on straight hunting expeditions to kill bears and pigs where you're getting 2 to 4 pieces of leather, dude. You'd have to spend whole sessions hunting for soft leather.
Well,
drove me nuts.
The other issue that I have with this, and I don't remember, maybe it was there and I just wasn't as invested in the games prior to Assassin's Creed or prior to Black Flag, but I think Black Flag was the first. I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't if it was in the others, I wasn't invested enough to care. But in Black Flag, they had different outfits that you could unlock, and different suits, and like one of which would be in your mansion and it was locked, and you had to get these stones to unlock it, and whenever you got it, it essentially made you bulletproof. It was like an armored plated suit, and you were essentially bulletproof. Now you couldn't take gunshot damage, so and if you would be taking over boats, like the only way they could get you was with swords or cannon. But you had to do all this stuff to unlock it, and it made it really meaningful, and then you wore that and you felt awesome. But if it's just, this is a level 15 sash or a level 16, like now you're just getting piecemeal armor again, and it kind of like, what are we going to do? It's like, I don't know if they're going to even be able to sort of have that aspect to it again, if it's all going to be just RPG and levels and things like that into this game. Like, I don't know how you would even have this sort of thing where you work towards this suit of armor that you can unlock. It's just, I don't know how they could do that and have this RPG leveling system. And again, obviously Jay and I both huge RPG guys, but it's just not
for that.
Yeah, but it just doesn't work in an Assassin's Creed game, or at least not for me. That's not how I want my Assassin's Creed games to work. I mean, like I've dealt with it, as they've done it in these games, but it was never in Black Flag, and I don't want them to change Black Flag to accommodate it. And so I don't like that. I don't like the removal of the combat system, and I don't like the addition of these RPG elements whenever unlocking these various suits was a big deal and a big pursuit and a big part of the game.
I figured to save time, though, this dev team's probably taken Assassin's Creed Shadows and they're just going to dump it and reskin it. I hate to say that, but I feel like that's they're not going to create a new setup for it. They're not.
Yeah, that was kind of what was sort of assumed, is that the Shadows combat system, where the combat system had gotten to in Shadows, that was essentially what they're going to be carrying over, was sort of the impression I got from what I was reading. And there were some good things, though, in addition to ripping out the modern day aspect of the game. Along with ripping out the modern day aspect of the game, they were like, well, in order to make up for the loss of gameplay hours there, it's like all of those gameplay hours were against my will. Whenever it was modern day levels, like the quicker the better. So like I'm fine. Like you don't have to replace it, but they're bringing in some cut content. So they are bringing in Mary Reed. Mary Reed was in the game. James Kidd. Was Mary Reed, masquerading as a male pirate to try to not catch so much shit from everybody. Which, although even I remember playing it and it was like, this James guy, like I think this is a girl. Like it's like they just rubbed some coal on the cheeks and like, wow, that's indistinguishable right there. That's a dude.
Yeah.
But don't scream woke or anything. Anybody, like Mary Reed and Bonnie, these are actual historical figures. These are actual female pirates. So but there was apparently an entire sort of side quest with Mary Reed that ended up getting scrapped, which this happens in any game that you've ever played. Any
movie or TV show you've ever watched.
They time crunches, things don't flow the way they need to, whatever content gets cut. And then a lot of times in these remakes, that content comes back to Knights of the Republic again. A lot of the cut content from the past is supposedly going to be brought back in for Knights of the Republic. So one of the things that they're bringing back with cut content is a bit more of an expansive storyline and subplot with Mary Reed. So that'll be cool with the whole Black Flag thing. And you remember whenever there would be like all these islands that you could go to and you'd have treasure maps and all that sort of stuff, and these little bitty islands, they weren't very big, you'd go there and you could run around the island in just a matter of a minute or two. But apparently they're going to make content, collectibles, things like that, more dense everywhere. Anywhere that you go, they're going to try to put more stuff and have more things going on, but especially on those islands. Whereas before, some of those little bitty islands, you would go there and you would just basically find the X, dig up a treasure, and that was it. You'd have a little map, you'd do the thing, dig that one thing up, and that's the only thing that existed on that island to find or anything. And they're doing apparently they're doing something to make those more worthwhile exploring and having more things to uncover, find, discover. So that'll be good too, to have a bit more content there. So there we go. Those are the leaks for Assassin's Creed 4. Some good, some bad. Apparently, like I said, based off of what I was reading, the things that excite me are pissing everybody else off, and the things that making everybody else happy are things that are making me less excited. But as you said, I'm still going to buy it. I still want to see how it goes. It's still my favorite Assassin's Creed game that they've made. And so I want to see what they do. And even though it's always possible that, they do these things and they actually do stick the landing, these things that I'm afraid of, maybe they do find a way to work them in a way that feels right, feels like they belong, and they could always stick the landing. And obviously I'm never going to root for anybody's failure whenever it comes to games. We love games. We want all these games to work. We want to love all these games. So ultimately, while I may be a little pessimistic at the moment, I am rooting for their success, and I want this to be awesome.
Dude, I even liked the fleet mini game that they had, where you went to your captain's quarters and all the ships you decided to keep, you could send them out, because it became like I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they made it back. That's awesome. I got that. Or shit, they got sunk. And I'm like,
or you would have to weigh your options, because it would tell you like the likelihood of like how likely they would be to be able to make it. Or you're like, oh, I need a more heavily armored ship. or
Yeah.
whatever to go. Yeah, that was a fun little
I
thing
love
to do.
that
There were
part.
so many there were so many good things that they
There
just
were, man.
that they just never brought back or just never got. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of Assassin's Creed games that I love, and we've talked about them before. You know, I love Syndicate was another one of my favorites
Oh, I love
because
Syndicate.
I love the setting and all of that. But man, Black Flag, everything worked. Like except the
Yes.
Abstergo. The one thing that didn't
Yeah.
work is is something they're ripping out. But everything else, man, everything else worked. Yeah, it was great.
You're right.
So in closing, Ubisoft, if you're listening, just in the next
Don't
game,
mess
wherever
this
we're
up.
going, whatever we're doing, make the modern aspect modern assassin shit.
Yeah.
Let us do stuff. Let us do cool things. So there.
Yeah. I don't want to be an employee at Kinko's Copies that happens to be the hereditary heir to some thing. So then you bring me out. Make us already a group of assassins, and they're like, okay, we're going to go back in history and fix this.
That's
Something
another
like
thing.
that.
That's another thing that I really hate is that anytime they do that, it's always like you go to the Abstergo thing and you're always a clueless moron.
Yes.
like
you're the guy, you're Revan at the beginning of KOTOR for the entire game.
Yeah, you're just like, huh? What?
Huh?
Who?
The amnesia trope or the dumbass trope is so bad.
Yeah.
Get rid of
what
that
do you mean
shit.
walk to the elevator? How did you get my number? Like, just stop. Can we
walk,
not just
press forward on the left analog stick?
Why can't our modern day counterparts be competent? Like that would be refreshing.
Yeah, I want some badass walking in the room with the, like I said, with the trench and the hood and like, hey, where are we going?
Yeah,
you already own the spot. You're just showing up for work that day. Yo, where are we heading?
The assassins that we are going back and playing as, they know what's going on. They know what they're doing. Why can't we just, especially if what we're playing as, again, the whole reason that it works for the whole, the Abstergo thing and the Animus is that it's descendants. It's descendants of these people.
Yes.
So wouldn't it stand to reason that at least one of these descendants would have been kept in the loop after all these games? Like if it's this whole big secret organization, that instead of like telling more people, hey, how about we just keep training the sons and daughters of these elite assassins as we go? And at least one of these times, you would think that we would have a capable modern day assassin at least one of these outings.
Yeah, man. Desmond Miles was a complete dumbass for not one game, for 4 games.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a idiot every other game. I mean, every game.
Honestly, I would obviously the games that we've had, some good, some not so good, whatever. I would be fine if they just kind of did not like erase that these games sort of existed and that we had fun with them, but just kind of do like a soft reboot, because especially the Desmond Miles stuff, guys, because Assassin's Creed has been around for a long time. And there was a time when gaming stories, and sure, there's still some that are out there now, but they were really out there. So watch, or even just read a summary. You can watch a YouTube video or read a summary of the storyline that involves Desmond Miles and all the way to his end, and try to make sense out of that story. Get us out of that. Like abandon that ship. Like this whole thing where he essentially, I don't know, becomes the sun or something to stop the world from blowing.
Yeah.
Dude, what? I thought we were talking about just assassins through the centuries. Now we're talking about the earth splitting in half and like these extra. Dude, just reboot it, and let's do it where the sons and daughters are in the know and it's passed down.
Like, I'm not kidding. Like the game should open with you opening the back of a limousine. You sit inside, and it's what's the mission? Well, we're going to be going back to whatever, Constantinople in 1340, and you're going to stop the Spanish Inquisition before it starts. And, and all that location and year was way off from the actual history of that, by the way. But you get my point. Almost like a Hitman game. I hate to say it. But, 47's always the pro in every scene, even at the start, at the beginning of each mission. So follow that blueprint.
Maybe Netflix, maybe they will take that path on their, thing that they're doing with Assassin's Creed and the show that they're developing, maybe they will take that approach where modern day also has assassinations or assassins and assassinations and all that kind of stuff, and go that way and maybe sort of like push Ubisoft in that direction. I would like that.
How sad is it that the closest we've gotten to it was the Fassbender movie, but only at the very last 2 minutes of the film where they're standing on a roof and realize they're about to go on a tear in London.
It's one of those things where you kind of forget. This is one of those game franchises where you kind of forget just how badly some of the misses missed because of how hard the hitters hit. Like the Black Flags and the Syndicates seem to have made up for a lot of the misses that they had thrown out there.
Yeah, that's true.
But okay, so that's the Assassin's Creed leaks. The one thing I wanted to throw out here as far as games goes was one that we had talked about before, which is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. It's the most complicated name. I don't know how many colons or dashes or diphthongs or whatever are in there. But yeah, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. We had talked previously about how the developer of the studio, the Chinese Room, is what it's called. I don't know why, but that's the name they went with. And they were releasing the game, but a more premium tier of the game included 2 clans locked. So it was basically 2 clans were paywalled at launch. It was not additional content. It was paywalled at launch. They tried to rationalize this, say that they weren't in the original plans for the game. However, again, it's at launch, so seems like something there doesn't quite add up. Anyways, they have backtracked, and they have now included those 2 clans, which was the La Sombra and Toreador clans. Those have been added to the base game. And Masquerade is, I know it has like a massive cult following from the first game. I've never played it. I've seen some things here and there. I'm interested in this game, although all the hands-on, all the hands-on stuff I've seen, it kind of looks like looks like it might be kind of cool, but looks kind of janky. Like nothing's wowed me, but I'm still just curious because of how much I've heard from the original, from Masquerade. So I'm glad that they don't have those clans paywalled. And again, I mean, that's a big deal because you pick a clan as you start the game. If you then later got these 2 clans, in order to use them, you'd basically have to restart the game, is my understanding. So there you go. But for those of you that are into Masquerade, there's that. Maybe I will be one. Maybe this game will win me over. I don't know. Again, it's one of these things where I hope it's good. I don't know. I'm curious.
And by the way, if the developers of Vampire the Masquerade end up watching this episode and you would like to send us a copy, we will allow it.
Yes.
Because I feel like we're both in the same boat where we both like always are watching it. It's always out there on the wing. We've never took the plunge, as it were, to get it, but it's always been one of those things we've been interested in.
We have curiosity, but no attachment yet.
Correct.
So we're waiting to be hooked.
So, I'm sorry. Did you have?
No, I was just going to say. So that's all the things that I have on my list for gaming. So I was going to hand it off to you.
So, I want to bring up a couple games they're either coming out or are out, and then one that I've actually been playing the past couple days, even though Borderlands 4 is out, which makes it very difficult to play. But the first one that I want to bring up, because in the vein of pissing me off, sort of like AC Black Flag is apparently going to do, I'm going to bring up this right here, and there's no title here, and you don't see a thumbnail for the game, but for all those people that played Deep Rock Galactic, Rock and Stone, sorry, I had to say that. They came out with a new one called Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. As you can see, this is a very different game. We've gone from being a first-person / third-person to an isometric, over-the-head view, much like Diablo or Path of Exile 2, if you play those. But this is a twin-stick shooter. I'm definitely interested. It's free on Game Pass, so if you have Game Pass, you can play it right now. It's using all the gear and weapons from the OG Deep Rock Galactic. This is just a basic screenshot from the game because I wanted to show you some footage, but in a weird unhinged design call, they decided to not have multiplayer in 2025. This is a single player only, and I'm not saying that won't be successful. For all those people that have played the Torchlight series, you know what I'm talking about. Torchlight 1 and 2 were absolute gems and single player only.
But this is a spinoff of a multiplayer game.
This is a spinoff of a game that was clearly designed to only be multiplayer because you can barely accomplish a mission if you're solo. Hell, you can barely accomplish a mission if you got 3 buddies because everybody has their own agenda. But here's a game. I feel like Madden now. Here's a game that was designed for multiplayer that has a spinoff that has no freaking multiplayer, dude. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the amount of Deep Rock Galactic that I've played before is very, very limited. Played with you and Rob before, so I don't have a lot of experience there. But it was fun. It was a good time. But yeah, it was quite difficult even with friends. And to have this where it's a spin-off of that game and to have it only single player, especially
mind-blowing
with this kind of perspective where, like you said, it elicits very much like a Diablo kind of vibe and that whole thing. So I don't know. I'm definitely curious as to how it's going to go and exactly what they're going for. I mean, I know that there's properties like Warhammer that have different games that are vastly different sort of gameplay experiences. They're trying to accomplish different things. Some are straight up, shooters. Some are action games. Some are very RPG or, so I get that. But I don't know. I don't know what they're aiming for here. Like, I don't know what they're trying to do, what they're trying to add to their legacy with Deep Rock Galactic.
Yeah. And, even though, Deep Rock wasn't even a AAA title, nor was it full price. This one is even crazier low price. I think it's like 19. It might even be 10. But it is a very low price game. I'll obviously be playing it on Game Pass. So I'm not paying a dime for it, but it's just mind blowing to me, man. And I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it, but it's mind blowing to me that in the age we're in, that this does not have multiplayer.
How does it look in action? Have you seen it? Have you seen it in action?
Yeah, dude, it looks great. I mean, the pyrotechnics of it is what's going to capture if you watch the footage. And it looks like Deep Rock, man. Even the mining and the survival type stuff looks exactly like the other game. It's just that it's overhead instead of.
I just wonder what they're trying to accomplish by doing the change up. I
don't know.
Especially whenever there's not like at least that I was aware, there doesn't seem to be, as far as plot or anything like that, there's not a ton of it in Deep Rock Galactic. It's certainly more based on the experience and the activity than any sort of like overarching story that you're sort of like moving towards.
Yeah, and I don't know I don't know enough about it. It basically just hit my radar recently, so it's one of those things where, like I said, I'm going to try it out, and I'll have more information next week. I'll probably play it a little bit this weekend.
We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll let you know what we walk away with.
The other game I want to bring up, and I've brought it up a few times, is the Crimson Desert, which is made by the people that make the Black Desert MMO. But this one is not an MMO. There are so many different first 15 minutes, first 50 minutes videos out there for you to watch. You should pick one and watch it. I was telling Mason before the show that this is kind of a weird cross between like a Dragon's Dogma 2 and like Skyrimish / Baldur's Gate / Elden Ring.
Well, it's kind of crazy. Just this image here that you've got, it feels very almost like Skyrim remake kind of vibe to it, except there's no snow. But it looks huge. It looks massive.
So I was reading like this screenshot. Everywhere in this screenshot you can go. There's no invisible wall on it.
So even
But
those peaks in the back that are like peeking up through the
yes,
fog.
yep, which is crazy. And the gameplay, the combat looks tight. It looks responsive. You can see here the person looks like they're riding a drake or a wormling or a fell beast, maybe. But there obviously are dragons in the game. Um, but man, just everything about it looks very. If you want to live out your Lord of the Rings
Huh.
fantasy, this is probably it.
Well, and I never played the MMO, but
I haven't either.
the one thing I do know about the MMO, which is basically the only bit that I have done of the MMO, was that the character creation was insane. Like that was the thing. Like they had an
Really
absolutely
good,
outlandish character creator.
bro.
You make your person look like realistic. You could make an anime character. It was insane. And I assume that level of creation will probably find its way onto this as well.
I'm gonna tell you right now, and this is I'm not saying it's a it's a game breaker or anything or whatever, but I love a truly expansive character creation. I feel like the best two we've had recently were Cyberpunk 2077, which that one gets into the tall grass. Actually, the other one I'm going to mention does too, down to everything that you can design. But Baldur's Gate 3, both of those games had extensive character creation, which I absolutely enjoy.
Yes. Baldur's Gate. No, actually, I was about to say it was lacking some. Nope, it had the same sliders that Cyberpunk did.
It did. Yeah. A, B, and C. Go
Yeah.
B. Go B. Anyway.
So, yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I hope people that end up watching this episode, give it a look, see, and see if it's something you're interested in. If you like RPGs and you like D&D and you like those types of games, Skyrim, I feel like it's going to be a big time. I feel like it's going to sneak up on people is what I think. So anyway, that's all I had. But the last one I had before we get into my major weird game category for tonight, but is
Oh, I
that I
actually have a
have
couple
been,
of
oh,
movie
okay.
news and updates we'll get into before that.
But yeah, so I played like I love the Tony Hawk games. I do. I mean, I grew up playing them, but one thing I've always hated about Tony Hawk was that you had a 2-minute run to accomplish everything you wanted to do. They did eventually add free skate, but you can't score anything in free skate. You're just free skating. And then EA came out with Skate. And I don't know what year it was, but they ended up coming out with Skate 1, 2, and 3 that had an innovative feature where all of your tricks were tied to the right stick. And we got Skate 3 during I guess the 7th generation Xbox 360 PS3 era, maybe the 6th. And it's phenomenal game. It was narrated by Jason Lee of My Name is Earl fame and Mallrats fame.
And
And he was
also a legit skateboarder himself.
yeah, and he was your mentor in the game. It was fun. You basically go anywhere, do anything you want to do. You could create your own skate lines. You could create a session marker so that you could always just tap a button and return back to the beginning of that line you were trying to run.
It was also a
So
much more
anyway,
grounded feel than Tony Hawk's
yes,
games were.
absolutely. So fast forward to 2024, 5-ish, and EA starts teasing Skate again, Skate 4, and then eventually they just said, you know what, skip the 4. We're just going to call it Skate, and we're going to make it free to play. And we're going to give you this big city called Van Amsterdam, some weird name.
They took
And
they took the GTA route apparently.
yeah,
To that.
so they're turning you loose into the city, and it hit. There's been some content creators that have been able to play it for the past few months, but yesterday, on the 16th, it hit open for everybody: PC, Xbox, PlayStation, free to play. Early access. So it is still early access. We don't even have all the features yet. And I'm just going to say up front, I love it because it does exactly what the previous skate games did for me as a kid that skated when I was in middle school. It's just my Zen activity. I don't need a lot of engagement. Just let me go and do my thing. Its only downside right now is there's very little gear. And for me, skating was all about the culture. I was a baggy cargo shorts, hoodie, beanie, pair of Adidas shell toes. That was my thing. And I can't do that here yet. In fact, you look like when you first get started, you basically look like a homeless person. Wearing a weird set of green capris with this black "I love skate" shirt on. Really stupid. But there's a stark contrast in the current reviews on this game. Console people are loving it. PC people are hating it because it doesn't have the story that the other skate games, and it doesn't have the Hall of Meat where you could purposely wipe out trying to get the best wipeout to break the most bones. And it does, like I said, it doesn't have a lot of gear, and there are a lot of microtransactions.
I was about to say that's what the hallway to my bedroom's called.
But what, microtransactions?
No, the Hall of Meat.
Oh, okay, awesome. But or microtransactions. But you can avoid. You don't need any of that shit. So it's really up to you if you want to pay for extra stuff. But you can also unlock quite a bit of stuff just by skating through the in-game currency. But man, I just want to tell you that I'm absolutely enjoying it. It's completely over the top. I mean, you can do 58 flips off of a skyscraper and land into a quarter pipe, which you'd never be able to do in real life. Or you can stay on the street and just grind park benches and rails and whatever, hit the half pipe. So it is whatever it is you want it to be, really, which I think is the absolute coolest thing you can do with a game.
I want to try it. I've been a little bit, I don't know, hesitant. Now that they've released it, I can actually give it a shot. But because of the free to play aspect of it, scares me a bit. Because
it should,
because that's usually people really try to get you with the gotcha stuff. And then also, like I'd heard a lot of content creators would say that it basically looks like Fortnite with skateboards. And it does have a bit more of a, the art style it's not quite to the level of Fortnite, but it is certainly far less realistic looking and more of a stylized look. And like you said, it does now sort of introduce aspects that are very over the top, which was not previously its thing. It's previously very grounded. Tony Hawk was the over the top thing. So I don't know. I'm nervous about it, but I'm glad to hear positive things from you and from some other people that have played it. So I'll have to give it a shot. I'd heard some negative things before revolving around that. So I'm glad to hear some positives that makes me want to jump in and give it a shot.
Well, my most key takeaway, and I said it, but I really didn't dwell on it, is that it is what you want it to be. It's as grounded as you want it to be. Like last night, all I did was skate a park I found under a highway overpass. And then I ended up going down a rail and down by a canal and ended up just doing grind tricks for an hour down there, trying to come up with a really good line and score some good points. And not one time did I use the new mechanics where you can get off your board and climb a skyscraper or do any of that shit. I mean, the other cool thing was it was cool seeing all the people you see in there are real people. There's no AI bots in this game. There's an AI narrator that's annoying, but you can turn them off. But all the people you see...
It's not even a voice actor?
No, it is straight up AI.
Oh.
And they did it on purpose. It was a purposely designed. She even announces herself as your AI bot. Which you can turn her off, and you should after the tutorial. Yeah, she gets nixed. But every single person you see, and even on PlayStation 5, you can have 100-player servers. And it is really cool, man, to see real people you'll climb a building sometime and there'll just be like a half pipe with a grind rail up there. And there'll be 20 people up there just hanging out, trying to pull off the best line. And it's already shaping up to be, in this day and age, which is hard to find, a non-toxic community. Everybody that was on there last night. Like there was people, like I did a grind off a rail, and there's 4 guys that stand there and they start doing the clapping. I was like, well, that's cool. So
I'll definitely have
kinda
to give
neat.
it a shot, especially since they've tried to bring Tony Hawk back a couple times and they've done the remakes, but I don't know. Somewhere along the way, the Tony Hawk games just kind of lost their soul a bit. Like they don't feel the
Yeah.
same, and so there's room for this to kind of fill that void that Tony Hawk hadn't been able to quite hit again. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad to hear some positive things then.
All right.
Well, as far as shows, movies go, I see that you've got some things here listed.
I do too.
So go ahead and I'll let you get into those because I'm interested.
Well, my first one is a show I got into this past week, and I've been avoiding it like the plague. And we've talked about this before. I feel like I'm so protective of the Alien franchise and the Predator franchise that I sometimes won't watch something for fear of it sucking. So before this, the most recent thing I'd watched was that, and you referred me to it, was the Predator Killer of Killers or whatever it was, and I loved it. And I don't even normally go in for animation, but it was excellent. But I started watching Alien Earth on Hulu. The only mistake I made was watching it late at night before a work morning, and I didn't get much sleep because they waste no time in scaring the shit out of you in this show. However, there is an underlying plot, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Obviously, you have aliens. There's an underlying plot about life extension and new tech, and some really interesting premises for those things are presented as well. And then within 3 episodes, that new tech and new frontier collides with the alien thing. And I'm not going to tell you how, but I will tell you, man, this is a legit show. And I texted you when I first started watching it, and kind of wish me luck. And you texted me and said, hey, I've talked to some people that hated it, and I've talked to some people that loved it. And I've ended up reading some reviews on it, and there is no middle ground. You're
I was
right.
about to say, I can't remember the last thing that I have been aware of that was this divided, where, like you said, no middle ground whatsoever. There are haters and there are lovers.
Yeah, it's totally polarizing, man. It's I got on Reddit and I was like, holy shit. Like people either, absolutely loathed it with every fiber of their being, or they loved it.
Yeah, I've not seen anybody that's just like, that's all right.
And I can confirmly say that I'm in the love crowd. I do like it. I like everything about it. I didn't know there's only 2 actors in the entire show that I actually know. Maybe
Isn't
3.
Timothy Oliphant in this?
Yeah, that's one of them. And the other one was the lady that was in Game of Thrones. I don't know her real name, but when Arya was trying to become a faceless man, and she went to that like Broadway show, that lady she protected from getting poisoned, that lady's in it. And she's great in it. But everybody else is just, bar none, they're all excellent. They're all really good at what they're doing. But it's a really interesting plot, man.
I have not watched any of it yet. I intend to, though, but since you have, I am curious. So obviously, like you said, you love it. I've watched quite a few content creators. Like I said, some adore it, some hate it. Since you've done some looking into it, obviously you've seen some of those opinions from the people that hate it. Those that hate it and the opinions that you've seen and the reasons behind the ones that hate it, do you completely disagree with their reasons for hating it, or is it one of the things where you look at it and you're like, oh, I can see why that would be a deal to them. It's just not important to me, and therefore I can enjoy it. Like, do you see any validity to the counter arguments?
So I'm gonna 2 things. One, exactly what you just said. There's gonna be a lot of people that watched it that I've already read their reviews on it that hated it because it wasn't what they wanted it to be. There's that. So you got that crowd of haters.
So it's like it could have been anything, just the fact that it was not the specific thing they wanted, they would have hated anything else.
Correct. Then you've got what I call the serious over the edge people that are these are like Justin Long's character from the Galaxy Quest movie. They know everything about every ship. You know, these are people that have been so in it, like it's their whole life is knowing alien lore, and them saying this is not canon. We don't know what the canon is for this time frame in the Alien franchise. So this is like um probably post Prometheus Covenant, but pre Alien 1, maybe pre Alien Romulus, which was also an excellent movie, by the way. But, and I told you, I think I texted you when I was watching it, said I really love how they went with the vintage uniforms and the layouts for the starships were all from the original movie from 1978. But yeah, I feel like that's the haters are the people that the oh, this is not canon crowd, and then or this is not what we wanted it to be. We envisioned this. Well, if you envisioned that, then you should have went and made it.
Well, I'm definitely gonna have to. How many episodes are out now?
There were 6 when I was watching it this past weekend, and I finished. I'm in halfway through 5 right now.
Yeah, I'll have to start that once tonight. There's a new episode of Peacemaker. Gonna watch that, and I've now finished Severance, the available seasons that are out there, the 2 seasons. So I'll have to start Alien Earth.
Yep. So anyway, yeah, freaking good show, man.
All right, and then before I get to my news, I see the other one that you have there that I am excited about.
All right, so I'm obviously super excited about this. So Netflix is doing an animated show called Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Death Watch. The voice of Sam Fisher is the only person I would actually, bless with doing the voice, which is Liev Schreiber, of Ray Donovan fame, of Sabretooth fame from Wolverine Origins movie, of so many movies.
So, yeah, the long distinguished list of accomplishments in acting.
Yeah.
Fantastic actor.
Got a great voice. He's got a great voice in this show. If you make sure you look up the trailer and watch it. This is a very old, salty, wizened Sam Fisher. They did bring back a couple people from the series. Anna Grimm's daughter comes to mind to play in it. It looks like it's going to be phenomenal. I don't want to spoil anything because I want people to watch the trailer, but this is one of those things where he's kind of been called in to right the ship after a bad op, but there's no right answer to righting the ship. That's just what I gathered from the trailer. Now, obviously, I haven't read anything on it, but from the trailer, that's what I got out of it.
Do you know if, because I do not, do you know if they made this show with the intention of it tying like directly into the games, or are they kind of starting their own continuity with this show?
I have no idea. I have no idea what they're trying to do. I literally watched the trailer and I looked up the cast, and I'm trying to stay away from it actually. Same. As far as, so anyway, yeah.
It looks great. The bit that they've released so far, like the animation looks solid. Yeah, like I said, Liev Schreiber, the voice, it's great. Super excited to get Splinter Cell. As we've mentioned again numerous times on this show, we need a new Splinter Cell game. We are starved for Splinter Cell content.
Yeah,
so
right,
to have something like this where it looks like they've really put in the work. Very excited to see that. And then I still, man, in that little preview that we get, the little teaser or whatever, and you get that sound of the night vision goggles coming on, man. Oh, so good.
Yeah. You're talking about the trailer, right? Because that happened in the trailer.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Yeah. So that sound from the games of you turning the night vision on. Oh, love it so much. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I just had a couple of quick things before we got to our games that deserve sequels that they never got. So just a few quick things. Super Mario Galaxy, the movie, was announced. So the sequel to the Mario Brothers movie is going to be Super Mario Galaxy. That'll be fun. I'm excited about that. I don't know if you have any strong opinions outside of that to add to that.
No, I mean, I used to play a lot of Super Mario stuff, and then I went to the 2nd grade, and
well, And we could talk about this whole re-release of the Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 that Nintendo's doing and charging $70 for it. But anyway, we'll put that away for now. We it's a whole thing. But then my last two things, one that I am excited for and one that I am not. As far as excited, it was announced today that Daredevil Born Again has officially been renewed for a third season. This was welcome
Well, we
news.
haven't even got the second season yet. So
But
that's
this
awesome.
was welcome news because we got the first season and we loved it. However, the first season had the unfortunate timing of coming at the tail end of MCU's ever increasing nosedive. It just a bunch of misses, and this is coming at the end of bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb and poorly done shows. It was bad, but the show was great. It was what we wanted it to be. It was phenomenal. You and I both loved it. We spoke very highly about it on this show, but nobody watched it. And so it was looking like season 2 might be the end of it. Like, hey, we'll at least get season 2, and then maybe they're going to wash their hands of it. That's the way that it was looking, and even sounded that way with Charlie, the lead actor, saying as much. Where he's like, "Yeah, I think we're done," and Vincent D'Onofrio saying, like, I think there's a chance. And thankfully, we get that chance. We get at least 3 seasons.
I'll tell you what else, though, man. I'll tell you what else it means. It also means that the top brass and the executive producers have seen the treatments for season 2 and think it's good enough to greenlight a season 3.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times that doesn't happen. That's what leads to reshoots and directors leaving and actors being replaced, is they see the treatment and they're like, guys, nobody's going to watch this shit.
Now, granted, given some of the other things that they have put out, I don't necessarily have a lot of confidence in the tastes of these people in charge, but we did get the first season, and the first season was phenomenal.
Yes, it was.
Excuse me, sorry while I die there. The sinuses and the allergies are back. The last thing I wanted to get to is just to point out that I believe it was announced Friday, or it came out Friday night, like Friday night at like 8 or 9 o'clock. They released a scene from The Witcher season 4. It was our first look at Liam Hemsworth as Geralt of Rivia, or as many people are now referring to him as Timu Geralt. It was rough. The scene release that we got. You had far kinder things to say about it than I did. Why don't you let us know your thoughts on what we saw of The Witcher 4?
Yeah, so here's
season
my
4.
and I do this with a lot of stuff, but here's my thing. I'm not going to be necessarily kind, but I'm going to say this. We have to come to grips with the fact that Henry Cavill is gone. We have to come to grips with the fact that they've probably had to rework some stuff because it was geared around Henry Cavill.
Well, actually, he left because it was increasingly less geared around Henry Cavill and Geralt.
That being said, Liam Hemsworth is in an impossible spot. So first off, my hats are off to him for even taking this plunge. It's an impossible plunge. You're set up for failure from the word go, and he still took the job. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt until he gives me a reason not to. Was this clip well put together? No, it was not. But that's not his fault. I felt like the combat maneuvers he made in this looked very Geraltish. But I'm less enthused by the perspective they're taking with this. I heard that it's going to be a less rated R-ish show compared to how it has been. And you cannot do Geralt's world is brutal and it's harsh. And
Rivia
it's wide
is not
open.
PG-13.
Huh?
Yes. Rivia is not PG-13.
Yes. And so I'm worried about that as well. And I think they're doing it in an effort to say, well, we couldn't have the kids when it was rated R, and we're going to need viewers.
They ain't
Now
gonna get
maybe
'em.
we could get at least some teenagers.
Not coming. Yeah, so I will definitely agree with you as far as Liam Hemsworth goes. I have nothing against Liam Hemsworth. It's a fine actor. I got no problem with him. Like, it's not his fault, that the situation is what it is. If they offered me, I have no qualifications to be Geralt, right? But if they offered me a job to play Geralt, I'll take it. I'd take it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fault the guy for taking the job. But the showrunner and the whole team, it's not good. It's not looking good. They obviously steered away from canon, and that became an increasing problem, which led to Henry Cavill's exit. And now we have this, and the show's canceled. By the way, if you guys didn't know, show's canceled. It will have 5 seasons max, and they shot season 4 and 5 back to back. So that's it, and it's done. So season 5 is already complete, and it looks awful. If you watch the what they released, again, I'm not hating on Liam or his moves. Just the look, it looked like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, it looked rough. It looked cheap. It looked cheap. It looked not good. Like, the costume was not good. Everything, it looked like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was not.
You thought he was wearing pleather armor?
Well, even the effect with the ghost, and then he just like reaches in and grabs this heart that then falls apart and crumbles away. It just all looked so cheap. And I will say that it just came out. It was revealed how much Netflix had invested in purchasing the rights and then developing the show and all this stuff into The Witcher, all to throw it away by going away from canon and the books, doing their Blood Origins, which was an absolute atrocity. $586 million. That is now down the drain, right? Yeah. $586 million
Holy shit balls.
wasted. They could have had everything they wanted. It could have been.
They could have had it all.
Yeah, it could have been the Game of Thrones replacement that they wanted it to be. It was set up to be that, and they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. It was already there for the taking, and they actively fought against it, and they got what they fought for. They now have a failed franchise for over $500 million. So there we go. Witcher season 4 coming soon. And you will probably be unaware when it releases, and you'll probably have no idea once season 5 is over, because nobody cares anymore.
All right. Are we ready?
I'll leave it to you, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So, as you guys know, the past couple of weeks, I've been on a retro binge, and I'm always looking for retro stuff that has been modernized and done well. Obviously, if I can play a modernized version that doesn't lose the original, love of the old content. But one of the ones I found that got Ninja dropped on PC, it's not out on console yet.
See, I thought this was going to be involved in your bit.
It is. This is the lead in.
Oh,
so was a game called Demon Stone, and it takes place in the Forgotten Realms within Dungeons and Dragons. It's based on the 3.5 rules, which are the best rules ever. And what you guys don't know is that I was recently a DM for a party that included Mr. Mason here as a half-elf warlock, Eldritch Blaster guy. And it was one of the actual original campaigns, which was Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And so this took place inside the Forgotten Realms. But this was a game that I played for sure on Xbox 360 back in the day. Phenomenal game. You can pick from one of 4 different characters. I think there's a fighter, a rogue, a wizard, and somebody else, probably a dwarf. There's always a dwarf. And play through the game. But they stealth dropped like a remake of it, a remaster of it on Steam recently, back in August, and I just happened upon it, and I was like, holy shit. So great game, but I got into that. which ended up getting me into one of my favorite games of all times, which is Neverwinter Nights. Obviously, centering on this town of Neverwinter within the Forgotten Realms in the D&D universe, but it had a ridiculous amount of DLC that led to about 200 hours worth of campaign time to complete. It was a phenomenal game as well. It's also been re-released, and it's on everything. So it's on PC, it's on Steam, it's on everything. And as you can see here, to me, this still holds up. If you compare this to Baldur's Gate 3, and while it certainly doesn't have necessarily the smoothness of texture, it still holds up, and you're able to play it. It's very playable. It's not necessarily turn-based, so this is more of an action RPG that does the dice rolls in the background for you. So, but phenomenal game, even better story. You should get into it. So that got me into thinking, what about one-off games that never got a sequel? And I don't know how I bridged from that thing to this thing, but I did. I started thinking about it constantly. So there are a lot of one-off games out there that never got a sequel. And you could probably Google till your heart's content. You would find list after list after list after list. But I sent Russ a text a couple days ago, and I said, hey, be thinking of some games that never got a sequel. And he's like, yeah, I'll do that. So we both have in our typical.
One of yours is one I considered as well.
We both did what we normally do, come up with 3 titles apiece that we think deserved a sequel. And since I came up with the category, I'll let you go first.
Okay.
And just, give me a description and tell me why it deserves a sequel.
All right. Well, I will go with my first one. So all these are fairly modern releases. Stick with somewhere it's like where I haven't quite lost faith that maybe they can happen. This one, though, it's probably on the lower end of probability. But that is the Guardians of the Galaxy game that was released by Square Enix. And
So
it was actually phenomenal. This was one where I think had circumstances been different around its release window, that it would have done gangbusters. It was, unfortunately, it came out after the absolute collapse and failure of the Avengers game that was put out. And everybody thought that it was associated to that game, which it wasn't. It wasn't even the same company, wasn't the same, like nothing. It was completely separate, 100%. But it basically paid for the sins of the Avengers game failure. And then also this was around when the MCU was really starting to get into that nosedive and beginning to fail.
That was our reality. This was still COVID time, right?
It was probably maybe on the tail end of it, I guess, or maybe it was. I don't know. It's been a while. It was definitely. It was at least within the tail end of it for sure. Yeah. But I don't know, that whole COVID time. It's, even though it was like 2 or 3 years, it still feels like 6 months all packed up together. But
yeah,
the game was actually really well done. It was really original. The story was great. You got to see a bunch of different characters that you didn't expect to see within the Marvel Universe. It was actually a really well told story. It even delved into the origin. So it kind of told the origin of Peter Quill and Star-Lord, and it tied that all together with where they were. You could unlock different attires for all the different characters. Your ship, it had the thing where, we pick this person up, we do this, and the ship and the internals of the ship would sort of adjust and change as your team, changed, or you made different discoveries. It was just a fun game. The combat was a blast. You had a bunch of different features within the combat where your team could sort of synergize their abilities. And then it also had different things where, because of different abilities, different members of the team would be utilized to progress through a level. Like Groot, you could use, his roots to make a bridge, or Drax could use his strength to move some, heavy pillar to use as a jumping point, or Gamora could, cut something down. As a whole thing. and it integrated everybody really well. Everybody had a personality. There was a chat system where you would go there and you would have, the conversation tree. You could ignore it if you wanted to, or you could go and enjoy it and just have these different conversations. They were always really entertaining. I don't know. I loved it. It played great. I think you would be hard pressed to find anybody that had a negative opinion of it. It was just poorly received, as far as just nobody played it. That's the problem. Is just nobody played it because of the collapse of the Avengers game. Everybody that played it, everybody that I've talked to, all the content creators that I've listened to loved it. It's just not enough people played it. And so as a result, it never got the sequel that it clearly wanted to have. And I think that's a damn shame, because this game was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And for that, I think it still deserves that sequel. And I would still evangelize the hell out of that sequel if they ever.
So I've only got about 4 hours of gameplay into it. I got it when I first got my computer, and my computer was fresh and shiny, and so was my Game Pass, and it was on Game Pass, and I downloaded it, and I was like, this is a really great game. Only problem was I had like 300 other things I was doing, and so I didn't get to finish it. But I would also agree with you that even though I didn't get to finish it, I was like, man, the only thing I didn't like was the no multiplayer. I felt like at very least it should have had co-op PvE to go through the campaign. I thought that would be really cool, but it didn't. But other than that, dude, yeah, you're right. The level design was awesome. I mean, you felt like you were out there in the cosmos, not anywhere close to being home.
Yeah, it was a really great story. The story went some places you wouldn't expect it to go.
Yeah.
The more that you went, the more it incorporated new gameplay mechanics and introduced new things. I don't know. It was so good. It was so good. And yeah, it's just underappreciated. And it's not much hope, obviously, just because of how much money they put into it versus how little they got back. But I would still love to see that sequel.
Okay, so my first title is, you guys know how much I love BioWare. Mass Effect 2 is probably my favorite game of all time, without a doubt. And BioWare used to be an absolutely awesome game company. I know a lot of younger
Pour one
people,
out.
Yeah, no joke. A lot of younger people don't realize where they came from, but obviously they had the KOTOR games, Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. But then they came out with another title. And oddly enough, it's their only one-off title. And it was absolutely astounding. The culture that it portrayed was one that you don't normally see in games. And that game, it did follow the KOTOR engine as far as choices and, inventory control and combat and
Light dark
traversal and exploration. But that game was none other than Jade Empire. This game was, I don't even know what to say, man. It really nailed it on the Chinese culture, with the dragons and the weapons and the clothing.
the
And
mythology.
I'm not gonna belabor the obvious on this. This was it was obviously an RPG. It was kind of an active turn base. If you can find a copy of it for the OG Xbox, you should grab a copy. If you're on PC, you should see if you can find it somewhere, because we all know you can. There's so many places. Look at my eyes. Find it. Anyway, but that is my first title tonight. So I kind of wanted to go a little bit older. I don't want to spoil this for you, but if you played the old BioWare, folks, this is old BioWare.
And it was right before they were. This is the game that got them to the height of their powers, which was Mass Effect.
Yes.
This was the game that bridged where they were in KOTOR to where they got to Mass Effect 2. This was the game that was the stepping stone to get to the height of their powers in the BioWare that we all that cemented themselves as legendary status.
In so many different ways. I think this is really what helped them with biotics in Mass Effect, because there were so many ways in combat. Of course, you had stabs and swords and that whole bit, but you also had the mysticism of the Chinese culture that you could call upon, which was, in hindsight, was very, very biotic style. So with the radial wheel and being able to pick those powers. But anyway, if you ever find this or get a chance to it, or God willing, they do a remake of this, this would be. I'd rather have a sequel, but it'd be cool to see a remake of it as well.
Yeah. Hey, maybe they could do that. If the next Mass Effect game is actually decent, maybe they could do a remake of Jade Empire. I would love that as well. So I am going to take this opportunity to be a little bit petty. If you thought that I would rise above pettiness in this, you're wrong, because I'm gonna be very. You're gonna say, wait, this one does have a. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It does not have a sequel, and I will fight anybody who says otherwise.
I'm dying on that hill.
Yeah, my second game of recent times that I think deserves a sequel that it never got is Ghost of Tsushima. The Ghost of Tsushima with Jin, he started a new story, a new path at the end of Ghost of Tsushima, and they clearly wanted or were starting something new. There is a resolution to the game overall, and boom, it has an absolute bookend, a heavy emphasis on the end. It does have a pretty definitive period, but then they go and they sort of start the way for Jin moving forward and what that will be, and it makes it even more interesting. I'm not going to try to spoil. It's been out for a while, so and to still avoid as much spoilers as I can, you basically obviously spend the entire game freeing the island of Tsushima from occupation and trying to liberate Tsushima. You succeed in that, and instead of being regarded as a hero by all, you are regarded as a hero by some and despised by others. And you basically end up on the run from the very same forces that you aided to liberate Tsushima. They end up hunting you, while the citizens of Tsushima know what you did and your contributions and respect you. And so it's this completely different dynamic where now you are sort of the ghost, this, almost, sort of a mythical figure to the local people that is fighting for good, while also now you would be avoiding the same forces that you fought alongside. And I thought it was going to be a really interesting dynamic to go into the sequel, and I was so excited to see where they went. And turns out they went nowhere, and we have Ghost of Yote. And I'm going to avoid any of the stuff going on in the news right now regarding the game, but that is not a sequel to this game. It is its own thing, and I'm bitter.
I was going to say, technically, you're not being petty, because this game doesn't have a sequel. If the new game coming out was called Ghost of Tsushima, The Ghost of Yote, or Ghost of Tsushima 2, The Ghost of Yote, then you'd have an argument for being petty. But I'm actually not going to allow you to be petty, because this game does not have a sequel.
And I think that the story warrants it. They queued it up.
I agree.
And I was very interested to see the change in the dynamic because of all the hours that we invested whenever the world was one way. And I was very excited to see how the story unfolded with the dynamic flipped, and what that means, especially with your status within the samurai, and your sort of elevated status within there because of your family, because of your own heritage and your lineage. I was so excited to see how they spun that narrative, where now your friends, your family, your comrades are basically sworn against you now, knowing all that they do know about you and how good of a person you are. So I was so excited to see that aspect explored, where you, like in the first game, you hate your enemy. They're bloodthirsty. They're terrible. Whereas in the sequel, what it set up is that you would be loving your enemy. You wouldn't want to be fighting them. You are fighting only because you have to. and only to survive and protect yourself. I don't know. It just set up such an interesting dynamic, and it's a shame that we likely won't ever see that dynamic explored.
Yeah.
So I want it to have a sequel, a proper, true sequel. I want it to have a Ghost of Tsushima 2.
Nice. All right. So my next one, folks, I love steampunk. I love the movie League of Extraordinary Gentlemen when no one else did. I love those old classic.
And not only did I love that movie, though, I will say I actually just rewatched that movie like 2 or 3 days ago.
I also rewatched it.
Did you really?
Yes, absolutely.
So good.
Unknowns to you, but yes, I did. I love that movie. I love those books that those characters are based on. I love the story of Alan Quatermain. I love Nemo and those stories. There was a lot of subtle ones nobody even really picked up on, which was Ishmael from Moby Dick, and or the fact that the Phantom was literally the Phantom of the Opera. So a lot of cool stuff on that. So that being said, there's a game, and I've actually brought it up on here before, that's only 4 to 6 hours long in gameplay. But did I want it to be 100 hours? Yes, I did. Was 4 to 6 hours enough to carry the story with no fluff? Yes, it was. But that game is The Order 1886. Where a bunch of gentlemen and lady modern day 1886 knights fought to protect the crown. With crazy weaponry that nobody would see, a very steampunk style weapon. I think they had a Tesla coil gun on there that was really cool, but a lot of cool mechanics in this game. And it was a launch title for the PS4. If you can get your hands on it, you should pick it up. It's very much an action oriented game. There's very little role play to this. It's just a straight story.
Wasn't the main character Galahad or something like that?
Yeah. So basically everybody's name is from the Knights of the Round Table. Very Kingsman-esque in that regard. Although this game was before the Kingsman. But anyway, if you get your hands on it, it definitely deserves a full-throated sequel where we get a couple, 130 hours. Well, I know today's day and age, 30 hours is considered long. Where we get a decent sized campaign with multiplayer co-op, and even possible a PvP multiplayer mode where you basically over time level up a guy and you build up your repertoire, as it were, through whatever multiplayer modes they have. But again, an excellent game. The art style was, it was just absolutely stellar. You could just see the way they're like the layering of the clothing on this screenshot. And it's an old ass game and it still holds up. So anyway, I think this is definitely worth your time if you're looking for a real quick hit. Literally you could play this on a Saturday morning before lunch and get it knocked out and feel like you accomplished something, because it's a really good romp through a steampunky alternate 1886 in London.
Well, as one thing that's probably been made clear through the course of the shows that we've done is that I love alternate history stories where we have some, especially like some sort of like alternate history hidden order kinds of things, like the Assassin's Creed kind of stuff, or something like this, where it's like, or a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where hey, there's this thing that's been going, but nobody's been aware of it. I love those kinds of aspects. And then especially whenever you have something like this in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, all those kinds of things where they have access to better technology, but it's still dated. So it's like advanced for what their time was, but still dated. And I don't know, I just love it whenever that's done well. And that was one game that I never played. I need to play it. I remember it came out.
Wow.
And the reason I didn't play it was because I'd heard that it's so short and simple, where it was more of a proof of concept than it was a game. And I'm
not going to disagree with that, but I guarantee you will love it.
And that's disappointing that that they didn't do sort of more of a commit to more of an actual game, because maybe that would have gotten them that sequel if they would have done a full release. But yeah, I'll have to play it and give it a true shot. It is a bummer if it's just the 4 hours or so.
Yeah, and I get that, but
Interesting. Okay, well, mine is another one that was a PlayStation 4 game, and it kind of had a lot of hubbub around it whenever it was releasing. They were really putting a lot into um, into marketing it. Then it came out. I actually didn't play it when it first came out, but it came out, apparently had some performance issues, and then just didn't sell well. And through patches and things like that, I guess they eventually cleaned it up. By the time I played it, it was smooth, it ran great, and I loved it. And that game is Days Gone, and it was one of the last games uh on the was sort of like the resurgence of the zombie wave, where so many games had zombies, and it was kind of at the end of that wave of those. And it also had its own take on the zombies, and it was when it had this, I don't remember what they called the technology, but it was another thing that they talked a lot about in the promotion of the game, where they basically the zombies, they had this sort of like game engine that sort of treated the zombies like water, where they would move as like a force, and they could run over rocks and stuff like that the way that water would. So it saw like once you have one or two zombies, you can take those things out easy, no problem. But you run into hordes like what's behind him there, and that you would absolutely run into hordes like that. You could run into hordes of that size and bigger, but then the horde of zombies would behave like water, where they would just cascade over terrain, and it would be like running away from a tidal wave. And it was a really interesting take on the zombies. I really loved I sort of enjoy these games where it's open world. You can get into these encounters, random encounters with the zombies and different hordes and stuff like that. But there's also side quests and things like that you can do kind of at your leisure. You can also, there's plenty of stuff to see and explore. You had a bike that you could upgrade, and which is what he's leaning back on there. It was really fun. So I honestly, like I said, I wasn't paying attention to it whenever it really first came out. I didn't play it when it first came out, so I don't know all the reasons that it just didn't do the numbers that they were hoping it was going to, but it did not. But they recently just remastered the game, and I've actually been playing through the remaster. It's great. And the game itself, it does have a solid end, kind of like Ghost of Tsushima. It does have a solid end, but if you are a completionist and you play all of the game and you play all the side missions, there is and there's even a mission that you can play after you get through all the other stuff. There's one final mission that you can do on this like little side quest that you've been doing throughout the entire game, where not going to spoil anything big, but throughout the game you kind of find that there's post zombie apocalypse kind of thing world, but you see that there's still some semblance of technology somewhere. There's a helicopter, and there's these dudes in these very like sort of high tech, like the sort of like radiation, like or like the suits that you see in like ET, where they're like vacuum sealed hazmat. Thank you. Those kinds of suits. So, and throughout the game, you kind of see like, what are these guys up to? So the main story has a definitive sort of ending and resolution there, but this side mission, you go through this whole game, and that last mission, if you play that, if you're a completionist, that flips everything on its head. If you finish that storyline, that side story, you don't even have to finish it. Most people probably didn't, but at the end, it flips the entire thing that you just did on its head and sets up a brilliant and fascinating path for what a sequel could be. And you want to know more about what is happening. And it's been one that people have been clamoring for it, but the head of Ben's studio has said multiple times, it's not happening. You didn't buy enough. You didn't want it. We're not doing it. But they did the remaster, and I'm hoping, man, that maybe the remaster can get enough that it pushes Sony to green like this because I want it so bad.
And I'll tell you what, man, I love Sam Witwer.
Yes.
Lord knows he was the likeness and voice of two of the best Star Wars games of all time.
Well, as you can tell here, it's very clearly his likeness in this game as well,
yeah,
along with his voice.
Force Unleashed 1 and 2, and then obviously in this. He was also in a show called Almost Human that I absolutely enjoyed. And there's some Star Wars projects he does where he's literally 99% of the voices. He's done Vader and the Emperor and Maul. He's got a new Maul show coming. Darth Maul, not the shopping mall, but but yeah, this was another game I didn't finish the entire thing. I love the idea of the way these zombies were because they're very reminiscent of World War Z. But I just, again, it was one of those, I started it and didn't finish. But I wish I had, and I know they came out with a remaster that supposedly looks a lot better and is cleaner, and so yeah, might be something I go back to.
I would highly recommend it. And yeah, so keep bugging Ben Studios on Twitter. We want that sequel.
Cool deal.
Don't bother Randy. Bother Ben Studios.
Okay, so to close us out tonight, my last game, and folks, this game's not going to blow your socks off. It's not going to introduce a whole lot of new game mechanics, but I've been a Star Wars fan my entire life, as long as I can remember. And this game came out and it blew my freaking mind because I also like military action games. And this one is the perfect marriage of Rainbow Six and Star Wars. And it was called Republic Commando, where you are basically in command of a team of Phase 1 clones during the Clone Wars. In fact, the game literally starts at the Battle for Geonosis. And there's this overarching plot where you're trying to find the Wookiee, resistance leader, and there's a lot of Dooku action in it, and there's a lot of characters you know and love, but it's very much a cover-based 4-person squad shooter where you're in command of your squad. And you can give them orders as well, moving through a series of levels. It was so well done, and it was so smooth, and the gunplay was legit and punchy. You never felt like you were overwhelmed or that you couldn't get out of a situation if you didn't, if you applied some decent strategy. But I absolutely adored this game when it came out, and it never got a sequel, and I don't know why. I have no idea. I've never read anything on why it didn't get a sequel. It was reviewed well and generally loved. So I don't know what the answers to those questions are. But yes, I would love to see a sequel to this game. I know they recently, as part of the Star Wars package, they put them back out on console, but it's not a remaster or remake. I think there's some visual upscaling, but nothing crazy. So anyway, that's my final game.
Well, I have never played this one, and but I'm definitely curious. There was another Star Wars game that I loved that was flawed. It was definitely flawed, but I still loved it, and it was Bounty Hunter, Star Wars Bounty Hunter.
Oh yeah,
and they just recently re-released it. It was not redone in any way. It was what it was then, but they re-released it, and I wish that would have gotten a sequel. But one thing that was very prominent in it, and a lot of the older Star Wars games that you kind of pointed out with this one being an improvement above that, is that, and it's not just Star Wars games, it's really any games that have lasers, especially back in the day, they never felt punchy. Like whenever you'd fire the laser, you never felt like you were actually doing anything. Like there was no recoil on the gun. Like there's like the mix of like the animations versus what happened. I don't know, but they never felt punchy. And so it sounds like this is one of the first games, especially in Star Wars, that maybe like cracked that code, so that even though you were firing a laser, that you still felt like you were actually doing something, some recoil, some impact,
Yeah, and there was a lot of different weapons, but there was a Star Wars version of a shotgun that definitely whether you were firing it or one of your squad mates was firing it, you could definitely tell it got fired and hit something. By the same token, though, when you got hit, man, it was one of those jarring situations, especially if it was a melee hit, because it'd knock you off your feet or push you back 7 to 10 feet or whatever. But this was just a basic screenshot from the gameplay. Obviously, in first person, you can see the kind of the rounded. It's like your helmet HUD, because obviously you're a clone.
So it was always there. It was always
yeah.
You always had these sort of
Yeah, and then the 3 numbers there that you see in the bottom left, those are your other squad mates. So squad 7, 40, and 62, because you had numbers. You were a clone. But man, just the absolutely legit game. The level design was good. A lot of great Star Wars environments to work your way through. And again, meeting some of the other characters on the way. It was just a really good game, and I enjoyed it very much.
Awesome. All right. Well, I had fun with the 6 games that we pulled out there. Always fun to talk about those and have some of these little thought experiments. But all right, guys. Well, thank you so much. We ran a little bit long, so been a while since we ran this long, but it was good. It's very therapeutic. It's been a wild month. So glad to have this time. Thank you guys for joining us. Again, please feel free to leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts. Give us a like. It helps a lot. And yeah, thanks for joining us. And we will see you again next Thursday at 8/7 Central.
Later, everybody.
See ya.